Should I start the session and we can just wait like the 1 minute or so?
Yeah, you can start it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll start it then. Okay, I'm starting it now.
Yeah. Hi there, everyone. Thanks for joining us as we hit 1 o'clock exactly. So that's good timing indeed. So we have lots of people joining us from all over the province. So welcome. It's great to see so many people deciding to level up their small business marketing in the last of our Level Up series webinars for this round. So we'll be starting all again in 2 weeks' time, and we'll speak about that at the very end of the webinar today, but you sign up in the same place for those. So just as people join us, it's great to have people here. I would first like to acknowledge that in the province of Alberta, we're situated on the traditional territories of Treaties 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10. Traditional territory, ancestral homeland of diverse First Nation groups, Métis and Indigenous people, whose ancestors have walked this land since time immemorial, and whose histories, languages, and cultures continue to influence our vibrant community. We pay respects to the Indigenous people of this land, past, present, and future, while recognizing their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationships to the land on which we reside. So yeah, as I say, we are here for webinar 12 of 12. This webinar series is brought to you by the Digital Economy Programme. Just want to quickly, briefly introduce the two major parts of this program that you can get support from if you're a small business owner. So firstly, we have the Shop Here powered by Google part of the program. So if you're a small business owner who needs an e-commerce aspect to your website or needs a website from scratch that has e-commerce, that's the team that will support you. So you can go to dep.businesslink.ca and get signed up for that. And then the other part of the program is the Digital Service Squad aspect of the program. So again, you can get support one-to-one for your small business. And this is from groups of young people who are distributed right throughout the province, who are there to help you on a variety of things, from upgrading your social media presence to helping you kind of work through a marketing plan, to helping you look at email marketing. So a real variety of things that they can support you with, things that we've talked about throughout this series. I'd like to introduce Kelly Doody from Social School. It's great to have her here for today's webinar on recurring revenue. We always have lots and lots to talk about, and we're kind of packed with content, so I will say less and we'll go straight to Kelly.
Thank you, Matt. Hello, everybody. This is pretty exciting. We have, I dare say, reached the finish line. Workshop number 12 of 12. Congratulations if you made it this far. And if you've been with us all the way along, that is incredible. I wish we were in a room together celebrating.
I know, it'd be nice to give some prizes or some virtual hands up to those people who've been here.
Absolutely. And, some of you send us notes and just, thanks. And it's been so great to hear how you're putting these strategies and tips into use. And we hope that you'll come back for maybe a second iteration in the second round, as Matt mentioned, or if you missed a couple of workshops along the way, we'd love to have you for those too. I'm going to apologize in advance that I've got dogs and children all around for spring break right now. So that's fun, but I'll try and keep the distractions to a minimum. So today we're tying up a lot of the things we've discussed for the last several months. And the idea being that, when we've got our strategy in place and we've got our website in order and we've got our paid ad campaigns running. And as you know, the workshops from number 1 to number 11 got a little more sophisticated, a little bit more technical as we went. We started talking about a lot of the front end aspects of our marketing and our digital marketing. So, our message, our voice, our tone, our content, what were those assets we were creating? And then we started to push into a little bit more of that back end technical side where we, looked at what a high functioning website needs to entail and what a little bit of search engine ranking factors. And again, the paid search aspects of our paid strategy. But recurring revenue, this one I'm really excited about, because what we're talking about is how to bring people back and what makes it so that we can turn off a little bit, maybe let our digital efforts speak for themselves, generate repeat customers, get higher conversions, utilize reviews, and leverage those online efforts to the best of our ability. So I'm excited today. There's about 3 things we're gonna kind of bulk this this hour-long workshop into, and as Matt said, have time for questions at the end. So first of all, I love the idea of scalability, and this idea hit me hard about a decade ago when I was a service provider. I was providing marketing and PR services for small businesses, one-to-one all the time, service-based hourly work, and it wasn't for me. I didn't like the idea that I couldn't leverage some of my so-called expertise or thoughts or tools and package them up and, deliver them a little bit more en masse. Build once, sell often, or one to many versus one to one. That really resonated for me. And for some of you, it will too. I'm going to show you a few different e-commerce or online digital sales models today. But then we're going to talk about number 2 here, which is the tools and integrations that we haven't covered yet that can take us, again, one step further. Is it the things we've already discussed, like social media and email marketing that combine with your website? Or is it chatbots and maybe some additional lead generation or list building tools? So we're going to cover some of our favorites there. And then finally, we're going to look at something that is very important that we haven't had a dedicated workshop for, which is SEO. And SEO is like, in my version of marketing and, as a longtime digital nerd, it's the snake oil. It's the thing that I personally have been most afraid of and that I see students and clients all the time most daunted by. Sometimes we're convinced that it's only for those super smart nerds that know everything about the internet that we could never possibly understand. And other times we've started working with an SEO specialist, perhaps, who's told us that it's going to take 6 months and $60,000, but we'll show up on page 1 of Google. And so I want to just cover a few things today that we could do to ensure that we're rising the rankings and we are, showing up on Google and on search in maps and just having a few of the tools in place that allow us to incorporate some SEO into our strategy. Matt, any thoughts so far? Sound good?
It sounds good. Just on that, we've got a question answer tab on the chat there. So yeah, any questions that come up, feel free to ask it. I've got one observation more than anything, Kelly, and this is that actually just looking at the number of attendees here, we're at the lowest number that we've had, and so I'm not boasting, I'm not saying, but it's just so interesting that the title of this, there's so much potential here that I think people so often don't see, isn't it? It's like, yeah, I've made the sale, I've had the success, I'm done. And this, not having this as a focus area, we're leaving lots maybe on the table.
Absolutely. Yep. You're so right. It's sort of that whole idea of completing the loop, right? As a PR professional, I used to send out the press release and then just hope I'd done my job without any further leveraging, posting, republishing, it's the full loop. And we can't just sit back and say, well, I've tried social media, it didn't really work, if we can't also genuinely say that we've ticked a few more boxes. So digital marketing is a mix, not just a single rung on the ladder. All right. So as you know, I'm from social school and our goal is to empower and teach small businesses to tell their online stories and really be able to build the business or the job and career of their dreams. There's so many tools at our fingertips today, and that's what I love about digital marketing. None of it is rocket science. So let's talk about how we might package up and profit from a digital, revenue stream that maybe we have going on in our business or haven't thought of just yet. I want to show you a few different models, but first of all, kind of hit home the importance and the opportunity that lies with e-commerce if you're not already thinking about it. So many of us became really clear on this during the pandemic for obvious reasons. We knew that we were shuttering our bricks and mortar stores. We knew that we couldn't reach people in real life anymore in our restaurants. We knew that something had to change and we had to future-proof our business. Again, some of those ideas or reasons for digital commerce of some kind. Build once, sell often, as I said, make money in your sleep. That's great. You have an e-commerce store that's working for you 24 hours a day now. Moving from one to many versus one to one. We'll talk about the products and services we can package up to do that. We can complement our existing business model. I'm going to show you a few examples that have done this so well. Create a new revenue stream that perhaps you haven't thought of yet or tapped into. And again, reach people far outside our borders and our backyard. And this too is important. Maybe we're in a small town. Maybe we are, again, thinking of future-proofing and pandemic-related realities. But maybe we're also just recognizing that if we had something that was digitally available, gift cards, service, whatever it is, we'll look at the models. They are going to reach a broader audience than we've been able to do before. So there's no shortage of options and opportunities. And I'm going to show you my 4 main online sales models, or ours, that we like to talk about. The first, of course, is the online store. We're all familiar with this. Not all of us, however, are selling physical products. So don't just think, clothing stores or boutiques that take their business online. Think as well about some digital or service providers that have packaged things up and taken it online. I often challenge small businesses we work with to say, okay, you sell a service as a chiropractor. Sure, that's tough to sell online. What could you package up in your business and sell as a product online? And vice versa. Okay, you sell a product, aromatherapy. What could you package up as a service and now offer through a membership or a digital course or some kind of, again, downloadable toolkit or resource or whatever it is to further leverage that physical product? Or that digital product. We can go either way. The second, of course, here is that digital product. We've seen a lot of these come to life. If you're on Etsy or you're, on the internet and you're in the especially female entrepreneur sphere, I find so many beautiful, ebooks or videos, digital artworks, graphics, music. These are things that we can easily picture. Oh yeah, I could sell that in a digital downloadable format online. I needed to help an office I'm working with find some art recently. And so I was on, a few different websites that sell downloadable prints for $2 that then I could go blow up myself at a local print shop. Digital products take all forms. They're not always physical downloads, remember. They can also be in the form of maybe a membership. You've all been exposed to these. Sometimes these are product extensions, as I mentioned. So if I've got some kind of service, like I'm that chiropractor, but I really want to offer like a monthly health coaching or, I don't know, back strength tips, or I'm that accountant who wants to take people through tax season and not just file their taxes once a year, but help them prepare for it year round. And maybe I can sell them into a monthly membership or an ongoing coaching or consulting model where I've got recurring revenue and repeat sales. It's the old, in marketing agency or any kind of agency system where you have clients who are, why am I blanking on the word? Retainer. They're on retainer. There's nothing better. For me, when I first moved from having an agency with retainer clients for a long time, where I could count on that set amount of money each month for a promised set of services, I went from selling a service to people who knew me and trusted me to selling a product online to strangers. And it was a tough shift. Suddenly I needed thousands of customers buying things for $50 at a time versus 10 buying things for $1,000 at a time, whatever it was. So the volume, of course, had to increase, but so too did, the way that I had to think about packaging everything up and making an extension of my existing service model. Coaches and courses, we've seen these just explode again during the pandemic. When I launched my first course called PR Pioneers in 2012, there was very few people doing online coaching or courses that were outside of a post-secondary. And even those weren't necessarily doing it very well digitally. But now, not only do we see this everywhere, any kind of person, I like to say, could package up their expertise and put it online. But also we can see that the platforms to host this have dramatically and beautifully improved as well. So it's actually very easy to do this kind of thing. And we'll look at some of those platforms in a few minutes. So let's look at some case studies here, some Alberta companies that I've been really excitedly watching for the last couple years, and people that immediately had to make change at the start of pandemic and have kept that going. Just because they shifted to online in April 2020 doesn't mean that now they've turned that off, for obvious reasons that we'll look at. First one is Banff Hospitality Collective. I love this group in Banff, longtime friend of mine, Mike. His company, he over the years has grown restaurant after restaurant in Banff. And what was really neat is that before, the Banff Hospitality Collective was background. It was a holding company. Nobody really knew who that was. They just knew of the Eddie Burger Bar or Park Restaurant. But when it came time to suddenly shift to takeout and delivery and gift cards, there's their product, they had to very quickly, kind of for the sake of expediency, package it up into one combined website and have all of those restaurants available at one click. And I checked this morning and it's still there, banffcollective.com/take-out. And it's really neat to see that their online ordering is seamless. I clicked on a restaurant, within 3 clicks, I was on their menu and able to do pickup or delivery. And so they've kept that going because they know us as consumers got really used to that. Maybe we loved it. And chances are they did really well by it, not just during pandemic days, but now going forward. What about an online store or that membership model where we've got recurring revenue now? Unlike my shift into an online school with Social School, I suddenly lost all retainer clients and I was starting from scratch on the first of every month. And let me tell you, it's bloody hard. You're fishing all the time. And it was like, I felt like my team and I have been on a race around the track always. Like the gun goes off on the 1st of April and you have 30 days to make that same amount of, you get it, as business owners and you know, insiders, we understand the need, but the more that we can have people come back month after month, we've seen this with the rise of subscription models, the better. But packaging up that membership is really important. And if you can complement your existing store or service offering, you're laughing. And I found that Eau Claire Distillery did this really well with their cask club. If you want to look into that, it's pretty cool. And there's no shortage of examples in this sphere that have done this. And we have to, of course, make sure that it stands out because attrition and fall off rates can be quite high too if you're not delivering. So you got to know your people, know what they're asking for, and then build a membership that's jam-packed with value. And I'm not going to get deep into membership models and pricing, but there's plenty of resources out there for that to help if that's something you're thinking of. Another example of Wild Tea Kombucha. This website is a couple years old now. It has evolved. But what they did fast was said, okay, we are a small business. And like many of our peers at this weird time called pandemic COVID season, need to quickly get online with product. And they had never done that before. And like many of us, they were forced to move quickly and they created a Wild Tea Kombucha and Friends one-stop online shop. So it was a really neat, almost marketplace of like-minded products and services that had cooperation at the fore. And suddenly everybody's benefiting from each other. Physical to a digital membership for the Royal Alberta Museum. They couldn't afford to lose their physical members, just like a zoo or any kind of physical attraction. And so they had to immediately ensure they were delivering at least some kind of valued value to their members through a digital model. And they did this really well through videos and ongoing talks and behind the scenes and just value add content that we'd never seen before. And I think they successfully managed to weather that storm without losing all of their members and demanding refunds. I've mentioned mindful meditation out of New York, and I bring this up again because it's just a business I've followed for a long time. I love their stuff. I always wanted to go to their studio in New York, and then pandemic hit and they had their Shopify page launched. So they had their WordPress main site, Shopify shopping page, and then they built a membership page on Kajabi. Not ideal, 3 platforms overlapping, but it is what it is. And sometimes we find ourselves in that position, and that's okay. But all that to say that really interesting way to go about turning your physical space or product into a digital offering. And suddenly I could tune into mindful TV from anywhere in the world. And it was really, really neat for those of us who were followers of the brand, but had never been able to experience it before. Any questions so far in any of those models? Or Matt, do you want to comment on any of those?
Yeah, I was just I wasn't keeping a close eye on the chat there, but no, just people saying positive things. I'd love to be pointed towards more membership options. Yeah, there's definitely, you know, in lots of different industries. The thing that I know I've done with business owners before, when trying to get them to think about other revenue opportunities, because it's hard, isn't it? If that is what I have always done, I am I don't know, a dog groomer in Calgary, and I groom dogs in a location, and that's it. I kind of play a game with them of getting them to think, okay, well, what if that revenue stream stopped tomorrow? People coming to your garage, home business, and having their dogs groomed. Like, how do you still pay the mortgage? And getting them to kind of, and it's amazing how creative people can be once they start thinking of those terms, you know, the coffee shop. Okay, well, what if your coffee shop, for whatever reason, there's a flood, has to close tomorrow? How do you still make money? And yeah, it can spark interesting things. And, you know, sometimes they're a bit outlandish and, you know, we're never going to kind of go there. But by looking at what else is happening in your own industry and other industries, it's like, yeah, there's potential that perhaps we haven't thought about.
Yeah. And, you know, I think one point to make there too is ask your clients, or if we've done our job, and let's think back to some of our, you know, audience identification workshops and conversations we continuously revisit the idea of, if I know my customer well, and I know what else they need, I know that they, you know, enjoy this from me, but they wish they had that, or I can ask them too. But I again go back to that idea of, if you're offering them, you know, something that is physical or tangible, and it's a one-off, what could you do to support them on an ongoing basis? And not thinking that you're going to sell a membership or an online coaching course or whatever for everyone, but for those core customers you already have that would like that as an extension, and that you can step in to help them. And I often say, what is it that's going to get them to the finish line? It's one thing to sell them a tooth whitening kit. It's another thing to be able to, you know, I don't know, this is a dumb example, meet online once a week and do your teeth whitening together, but insert the word taxes. And now you start to see that people are like, yes, please. Yes, I need that, because I know otherwise I'm not going to succeed, or as a trainer, or whatever it is, you know, a little harder maybe for a coffee shop, but there's other things that people are craving. And in a lot of cases, it's community. Like-minded people doing things together. I hear it all the time. In fact, I hear it daily, because for me, they're like, we want to meet in class again. And I'm like, I know, me too. And we can here and there, but hybrid models, you know. So I think that idea of listening and identifying opportunities remains as important as ever as we look to additional revenue streams and future proofing.
And kind of during that peak of the pandemic and businesses pivoting, like all the time I was being asked to do workshops on, like, how do we pivot our business? But all the great examples came from businesses who really understood their target market, because they could meet those additional needs. They knew what their target market were needing at that moment. Their life had changed and all of those things. Yeah, it all comes back to target market.
That's right, it does. And, you know, having a reason now, all of us, to answer the call of what we've been asked for a long time. You know, a lot of business I hear say, we knew we needed to do this, but the pandemic forced us to. So sometimes that, well, we can see that as a silver lining, perhaps. All right, so let's look at some of the integrations and automations. We're kind of shifting gears here, but the whole idea continues along the stream of, what do we do to build those repeat customers, that increasing loyalty and retention, no matter what it is that we're selling or offering, or gets people to the finish line when they're there and they're close to buying, and, you know, they just need to be pushed over the edge, so to speak. So lead capture, chatbots, we're going to look at a few of these different things. The most important thing here, though, is that we choose the right integrations. And this has everything to do with, again, our customers' needs. Do they need a chatbot at the final stage of their purchase of your membership program to ask those final questions? Do they need email marketing because they want to hear from you regularly with your brilliant tax advice? What is it that they're asking for? And then secondly, what can you support? What does your budget and your time allow you to support? You can't go have a million different types of integrations and automations and pop-ups and tools in play if you have a team of one. So you have to selectively pick what's going to work for you. What is going to get you to your business goal? Probably more sales, customers, prospects, conversions, retention, and then what technologies will help your people and processes along the way. And I caution people a little bit here because I'm not the only tech junkie out there or tool nerd who gets really wrapped up in all of these different ideas and suggestions. And sometimes we just need to bring it back. This is what marketing technology looks like. Over the years, the landscape has gone from, several hundred solutions, and we call them SaaS or service as a software. Think about Google My Business or even Gmail. That's service as a software. You're paying for it usually, and it's not a physical product, and they call it SaaS, or we call it marketing technology. And when you add up your marketing tech stack, you can get a pretty big list. There's no, as I said, shortage of what's out there in categories like advertising and promotion, content marketing, social media or relationship building, commerce, sales, revenue, data analysis, project management and people. It just goes on and on. And I would say to you all day long that asking around, asking for advice, asking what other people are using for their email marketing, and doing a bit of homework will help so much. But before we know it, we can dive deep into having a whole lot of tools and technologies on trial, and we spend a lot of time and money only to, feel overwhelmed or end up with the wrong types of solutions. So that's simply my way of saying that when used wisely, these technologies today can be our most powerful ally and that of our recurring revenue or sales and conversions. But we need to kind of, start from the right spot. If you're needing a bit more advice, I'm going to tell you that we do have a tool page on our social school website where we've got about 40 of our top picks in the various categories, from email marketing to lead pages to social automation, et cetera, if you want to take a look at that. But there's also tons of other tool recommendations across the web and probably within your circle if you're willing to poke your head up and ask some questions. So some of my favorites. We have talked about social scheduling tools already, so I'm not going to revisit this. We went into this in workshop number 6, which was social success. And we looked at things like Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, kind of planning and scheduling tools. I talked about Planoly, one of my favorites. And then we also talked a little bit about Facebook Creator Studio. This is a free scheduling tool for Facebook and Instagram, and it's built into Facebook Business Suite. We talked about Facebook Business Suite setup in social selling, which I think was workshop number 9. But it's free. It's easy to learn. You just have to give yourself a couple hours and some patience. Facebook Business Suite is where we should be managing our Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, and WhatsApp pages, inbox, ads, audiences, and also we can schedule our posts from there. So overwhelming and daunting at first, yes, but once we get to know it and we use it properly, it's a brilliant tool. And again, you're not going to pay some third party $50 or $100 a month to be able to schedule your content. The next sort of tool stack or marketing technology that we looked at and in a big category was email marketing. And that was workshop number 7, where we dedicated an entire workshop to email marketing and the importance of it. We talked about some of those platforms and how they too have come a really long way. They're allowing us to employ beautiful templates and drag and drop kind of content blocks so that we can send out short, sweet, to the point emails to our list of opted-in subscribers, those who are like holding their hand up, asking to basically be advertised or promoted to. And no one else is doing that. You don't go on YouTube and hope that someone's going to show you ads. But when it comes to email marketing, we have people who have actually explicitly said they'd like to hear from us, and we can't discount this tool. It's a huge piece of recurring revenue and nurturing our people to take the actions we want them to take. So today we're going to focus a little bit more on some of the more, I would say, peripheral or the optional tools like these chat bots. They can be manned by a real person. They can be manned by a bot. but they're just a shortcut to a human being or to some answers. And you've seen them on so many websites you visit. In fact, I find now if there isn't a little chat button in the bottom where I can immediately find someone or send a note, I'm surprised. I try not to get angry about it, but I do find myself like, I guess I have to go find their contact page and then find an email address and then fill out this dumb form. But remember, we're lazy. And so we want immediate answers and support. And that doesn't mean your chatbot has to be live either. Ours is set up to be, it's a short, it's basically an email, but we get that message and the immediate reply or next pop-up is, thanks, we'll get back to you within 24 hours. And then we manage it in our chatbot dashboard. It's different from email. It's helpful. So there's a lot of companies that are doing this. It's also kind of overwhelming if you look into it sometimes, but a bit of a lay of the land here is important. And I'm planting this seed, never hopefully to overwhelm, but to say to you, if someone is ready to ask a question when they're on your website, that sale or contact or phone call or appointment is yours to lose. They want their final objections removed. They've probably done their homework. They've seen you on social. They've clicked on your ad, whatever it is. You've done your job. You got them to the finish line, just about your website, the final stop on the journey, hopefully. And now if you don't get them there to wherever they're going, that's again, a miss, right? And I used to say that to our team quite often. We're focusing so much on pretty social media updates when we're missing that final group of people that are like landing on our website and they have some final questions. Our bad. So Collect Chat is one. These are really neat drag and drop builders that employ a little bit of AI and not the overwhelming kind, just one where you've pre-populated a few FAQs and that person can land on there and they can see that it's Jane, the virtual assistant or whoever it is. And then here's some answers and I can better segment them into talking to the right person. Or maybe they just want to know our hours or if we're open on Thanksgiving and we can immediately answer that for them without having to employ a human being. So, the AI side of things is not actually as scary as it sounds. It's not snake oil either. It's just pre-programmed answers that can be really handy. And then before you know it, you can put them in touch with a real human too, and they come online and, now you're actually communicating in real life. ManyChat is another one, but it works with Facebook Messenger and sends SMS chats to your mobile device. So it turns into like an actual text message. So it's just a bit different, but it's basically designed to create the same types of customer journey or funnels, but we're starting from Facebook Messenger, which is where a lot of companies rely on to get their messaging. And sometimes people just use Messenger and they put that on their website instead of something like ManyChat. But ManyChat allows you a little bit more tools. My favorite is called Help Scout. I was paying about $49 a month for this until recently, and we then scaled back our subscription a little bit. But it is also, there's a free version. So what you can do here, if you look in the very bottom left, that's the box that's going to pop up in the bottom corner of my website if somebody clicks on that little conversation icon or question mark icon. And then they have the choice to go to answers or chat or ask. And if I set it to default to land on answers, right there, they can type in hypothetical questions. And this was so helpful for us because we had then populated a series of FAQs, little articles that would solve their problems 80% of the time. So it wasn't just some little reply with the hours or open dates. It was an answer on how to log in, or are you having trouble with this? Frequently asked questions that we turned into an article bank. And then we didn't get as many people, sending us a message in our chat. So we called it the Support Hub. We had a dedicated domain for this called support.socialschool.io. And there's plenty of others actually back in that other screen on the bottom. Learn.pocketsmith.com, help.joinhoney.com, support.crazyegg. So this is again where companies are, creating a separate subdomain for their help desk or their help article section and getting people to the answers they need quicker. The last section here I'll talk about in terms of tools is what we've referred to often, and we did talk about this a little bit in workshop number 10, which was winning websites. And it's landing pages and also list building. So building our subscriber base and other kind of lead generation tools. Landing pages, if you recall, are that idea of a singular focused web page. It's got probably no top navigation, no other confusing messages. It just gets you where you need to go fast. And there's a number of tools out there that do this. Lead pages is one, but it can be pricey. $99 a month is kind of one of the standards. A couple others, ConvertKit, Sumo. But this is where I go back to loving Kajabi, because Kajabi is an all-in-one. We talked about this in the website course, if you recall. One of my top 3 DIY website platform builders is Kajabi, next to Shopify and Squarespace. So this is where we can have these like beautifully designed standalone landing pages that only serve one purpose: to get pre-sales, get subscribers, sign up for a webinar, and all those other distractions are removed. So possibly something you want to think about employing, not too complicated, tons of drag and drop builders that before you know it, you've taken a beautiful template, put on your logo and your call to action, and now you're collecting email addresses and you have somewhere to send people to from social media, your email signature, your blog, your website, whatever it is. So lead generation, constantly filling the funnel, filling the bucket of new leads is so important, because we know that if you build it, they will come is a lie. We have to constantly be fishing. And those who don't have to fish or farm anymore are in a really great place. But even the Coca-Colas and Nikes of the world still have to generate new leads and maintain interest. Otherwise, they wouldn't be advertising or building landing pages or running social media campaigns. We are all constantly in the business of generating new customers and repeat business. Before I go into the very last section, which is search engine optimization as a sort of a final piece of our puzzle, which has to do with localized SEO, showing up in search, and generating reviews. I'm going to ask Matt if he wants to weigh in at all, and I'll stop talking for a minute.
I won't weigh in, but I'll ask some questions that we kind of see here in the chat. One, I'm always interested to hear the answers, but this one particularly. So I believe WhatsApp has some functionality for business now, or what's your, someone asked the question, what's your thoughts on WhatsApp for business for a service company?
Yes, that's a very good question. Because it's owned by Facebook, and because we know that there are integrations with Facebook's ad targeting and audience building abilities there, we do have more capabilities as a business than we did before, but it's not as robust as, say, Messenger. WhatsApp is not my favorite tool, so I'm not going to be giving it glowing reviews. But if your customer base is using WhatsApp heavily, then yes, I would absolutely encourage you to look further into the marketing and promotional opportunities there. How do you show up in those private inboxes? We know we can, kind of like Facebook Messenger. But how are we going to go about doing that? What's it going to cost? Or is it not a paid strategy on WhatsApp, but just one where we're communicating with people on there, using it for our chat, etc. So
yeah, I've seen that, because I kind of use WhatsApp lots, and I've seen kind of businesses and things starting to have that option to message on WhatsApp, and I kind of just assume, that's what they're doing to make it easier for me. Trina asks, is there a tool you recommend specifically for Facebook group scheduling and insights?
Yes, well, that would be in Facebook Business Suite again. So within the posts section of Facebook Business Suite, once you've added your pages and your people and your ad accounts, or if you just want to add your pages and it's just you, but you have a Facebook Business Suite account, that's where we're going to professionally manage our page. And of course, then our post scheduling. Scheduling posts for groups isn't quite the same. You have to see what your particular group is capable of having scheduled. But in the same way that you can't comment in groups as easily, groups are set up a little bit differently. But we do know that there is, just plenty of opportunities in groups now than there was before, in terms of like live streaming and content types, and of course connection. I would just caution as well, though, if you're going to build a Facebook group, I would encourage, and you want it to be a paid group, perhaps, I would look into some other platforms. Fell in love with something called Mighty Networks. It was pretty affordable. There's a free community, and then there's a paid community where you can sell courses, you can sell memberships. It was really neat. It was like Facebook groups meets kind of like a Kajabi. And there's other community tools that get you off Facebook. The problem with building your group in Facebook is you don't own it. And people don't love going into Facebook groups to have that coaching call or to have that conversation. When I open Facebook, I get lost in it. I'm like, oh God, here we go. And so, yeah, I would just be aware of whether or not you should be using group, or there's another opportunity.
That's awesome. And this one, Kajabi sounds great. Is it free?
No, unfortunately. Kajabi is a tough one. It's not free. And I have the maxed out version of it because I have 50 paid courses on it. I have the community, but I have the biggest package. I can build unlimited websites, unlimited landing pages, what they call not funnels, but pipelines, landing page, web form, order form, thank you page, follow-up email sequence. These pipelines are spectacular, but I pay $3.99 US a month. It's my most expensive platform, so 525 Canadian. However, I no longer pay for email marketing for $50 a month, or it was going up to 100, because a lot of subscription or a lot of email marketing platforms penalize you as you grow your list. You get to 1,000, you get to 10,000, suddenly you're paying $200, $300, $500 a month. Drives me crazy. I no longer paid for landing page software. I didn't have to pay for Mighty Networks anymore as a community. So, when you have an all-in-one that works well, and I pay for my courses there, and they don't take a portion of course sales, whereas a lot of other platforms would. So that's where Kajabi just is such a shining star for me.
Yeah. And I just kind of looked at that. Like, if you just want to go month by month, there is like a 14-day, this is not a sales, I'm not making a sales pitch for Kajabi, but there's a 14-day free trial, and then it's $149 a month. But yeah, when you say, like, I was speaking to a bookkeeper recently, and she's like, I was working with a business owner, and they had so many, $17.99 subscriptions and $23, and they can soon add up. We all know that personally as well, don't we?
They do. Yeah, I'm on a mission to clean house with subscriptions, because I was such a tool junkie when my business was a lot bigger and more people before COVID. Our subscriptions totaled $2,300 a month at one point, which is obnoxious and unnecessary. And then, like I said, I was trialing a lot of things, but it also becomes confusing. You have so many things in the mix. But I'm saying that as well to say that, listen, if you're paying $500 a month in software, that's pretty standard these days, even as a small business. When people say, oh, I can't possibly pay $300 a month for Squarespace, I say, are you sure? Because it's like your biggest tool, and it replaces a lot of other marketing things. So we have to budget realistically for these things too.
Yeah, it's so true. Just a quick question. Lise asks, what was the name of the group platform you suggested?
Oh, it was called Mighty Networks.
Mighty Networks. Awesome.
Really
Thank you.
One. And they're all on our tool page as well at Social School /tools if you want to look, you guys. Okay, search ranking factors. So, props to you. If anyone feels well versed in SEO, or at least they have a general understanding of, search ranking factors, that's awesome. I'm not going to go into, I like to outline 8 ranking factors, and some of those include front end stuff on our website, and others back end stuff. The way we title our pages, the way we build our site architecture, the way that we code some of the things on the back end, or employ external link building tools and build our overall search ranking authority. There's so many pieces to it. None of them are difficult. They're time consuming, but they're not hard to understand. But today we're going to talk about 3 that we can really kind of look at quickly and make a dent on fast. And if you were to employ a few things here, you can actually, now I sound like the snake oil sales lady, but you can you'll see an increase in your search rankings within a couple weeks, particularly if you lean on Google My Business, which is the 3rd thing I'm going to show you. So the first one we're going to look at is our mobile friendliness. And this matters immensely. Google cares to send people to websites that are mobile friendly, because if they send you, searcher, to some archaic site built in 1992 that is not mobile friendly and it's some kind of desktop thing and you can't read it and it's got nothing but drop downs, then you're going to bounce. You're going to head out and you're going to say, Google's giving me bad results. I'm going to go use Bing or some other search engine. So, and they're going to penalize you accordingly or reward you too. And so we want to ensure that our mobile friendliness and our mobile friendly scores are high, and that if our site isn't mobile friendly, we're taking actions to change that and build a mobile version or a tablet version of our website. If you're using something like Squarespace or Wix or most of the CMS, content management system tools today, it'll automatically do that for you. It'll render on mobile automatically. But a lot of our sites are built on WordPress and they haven't got that same functionality, and we're still, wrestling with it if we're a mobile user. So what's really helpful here is to go into your Google Analytics, check out, under audience, mobile, and see what your traffic is. Just prove to yourself or ask yourself how much of your traffic is coming from mobile. And I guarantee you it's increasing all the time. Many people don't even have hardware anymore, laptops and desktops. They're doing so much of their business and their commerce and their conference traveling on mobile. And maybe they bring an iPad. So we can't underestimate this. In new markets as well, if I'm selling into India and China, the markets there are 98% mobile. So thinking about how this relates to our own business, but also just knowing that there's no way around it. You have to future-proof your website. You can check Google's mobile-friendly scorer if you want to see how you rank here, and you'll get a score. I thought I'd throw Canada Revenue Agency in there just to see, since we could have made a lot of fun of them if they weren't, but turns out they're mobile-friendly. And we can do it on ourselves as well. So pop in your website or your domain, and you'll very quickly not only see whether or not you're scoring okay, but if there's any tips or suggestions for you there, they can show you that too. An example of one that's maybe not, I chose irishrexonline.net. Poor guys, definitely not mobile friendly. And you can see that. We've all seen those types of websites that look the exact same on a phone as they do on a desktop. And not only is that site a bit ugly and outdated, but you get the idea. The second tool that I want to show you and ranking factor that is integral is your load speed. And the whole idea here is that your users, as we've talked about a lot, are not very patient, and we have high expectations, as probably do you. So just how long do you expect for someone to wait for your screens to load and your pages to load? And different pages on our sites can have different load speeds and different times of day, et cetera. But trust me, it's not always the Wi-Fi. It's your load speed. It's the way your page is built. It's, the fact that your images are too big or they haven't been made mobile friendly or web friendly. It could be that there's too much competing content or outdated plugins. There's a number of things that can affect that load speed, but we have to really ask ourselves what's acceptable. There's been times in my business where the load speed's been like 24 seconds. And it's time to first of all, do some load speed tests and find out what pages have a megabyte sized image on them or worse, that somebody didn't properly shrink, or it's got, again, an outdated plugin or something, and then make changes. Where this gets really painful is if you're running ads. So I'm running ads on Google. Somebody clicks on my search result. Thankfully, they saw my ad. Woohoo, I got there. And I'm going to pay, oh my God, $18 a click because I'm competing on heavily trafficked, highly bid words like marketing, Instagram course. I'm going to pay for that click because it's a cost per click model. And they're actually not even going to make it to my website, because when they click on it, the 3 or 6 or 20-second load speed sends them elsewhere. And I've still paid for that. So there's been times where I've been running paid campaigns and literally we'll see that I paid for 2,000 clicks and only 1,000 people made it to the site. So again, eye-opening things that we need to be aware of, and we can find these things out for ourselves pretty easily with some tests. You will likely have a different load speed for your mobile page versus your desktop. So you can ask Google that as well. In this case, I put in the Winnipeg Convention Center. And we can see the difference there. And unfortunately, some of those low speed scores can, be really eye-opening. Okay, we're on the home stretch here. The last thing for this workshop and this series is Google My Business. And what Google My Business is hands down the best localized SEO and starting point SEO tool in the world. If we don't have a properly built Google My Business listing, we are missing out on massive amounts of local search. Why? Well, because Google My Business is a free platform where Google wants us to input the basics about our website, like literally one time, and then you can set it and forget it. It's not like Facebook or Instagram, this content beast that we have to keep feeding. My Google My Business listing might change over time with updates, but on the whole, if I set it up properly and I give GMB what it needs, now I'm going to be showing up on maps, on search, and many other places. I can see how suddenly on a desktop search for my business, I've got that rich search result on the right side that shows the updates, the hours, the reviews, the images, the products, anything I've plugged into GMB is now going to show up on the right side, and it's pulling from that listing. So just being aware of, whether or not you have a GMB listing, whether it's current, and what you can do to further optimize it. It's going to walk you step by step through it. And I bring this up as sort of the final piece of this workshop series, even though I know we've touched on it already, because like I said, it's so important. And as you know, we're talking about reviews as well, because that is part of our recurring revenue and repeat business model. And we manage our Google reviews inside of GMB as well. If you're not already doing that, then that's where you're going to want to go to do that. So a final few round of tips here. We want to consistently generate positive reviews, of course, but we're not going to do it in a way that's slimy or pushy or whatever. We've all been asked for those reviews and you think like, but if I can naturally or organically get my customers to positively review us, that's awesome. And I know how far that's going to go with strangers, because it's a third party unpaid endorsement of our services and skills. And you and I both know we buy from this. I bought a carpet cleaning session a few weeks ago because the Google reviews were incredible. And I literally didn't look any further. And it was true. They didn't disappoint. They had like 800 5-star reviews. And not only did it make me book them, but it made me also, form my own review afterwards. So it's a form of social proof. We know this. It makes us look trustworthy and authoritative, and Google loves them too. This is a ranking factor. So if we look like we're good in Google's eyes, and we're a trustworthy, authoritative, real business, we're not some fake thing on the internet, it goes further in our overall SEO strategy and allows us to rise up the rankings and become a favored search result for Google to serve up to people looking for carpet cleaning. So last thoughts here, we can ask for them. We can add a shortened link to our email that sends people directly to them. We can have a page on our website, maybe for people to place a review. Or one of my favorite ideas is to, in your follow-up or at your highest moment of customer delight, that service delivery or that fulfillment of an order or a service, that's where we need to ask for it. People are at their most apt to probably give us some kind of review. And again, it can go so far. So just a couple of exercises here, you guys, and then we'll answer some more questions. I kept this pretty simple, but the idea is just that we want to find out how our website's performing. This is really important. Again, we can do all these efforts that we've talked about now for a couple of months on our content marketing and our paid ads. But if when they get to our website, they're not getting what they need, forget it. We've just really kind of lost all that effort and time and money. So being really clear, showing up, quickly and mobile optimized is great. And then just doing a bit of a priorities audit. I would leave you with this to say, if you're thinking of moving into an additional revenue stream or some kind of digital model or packaged up something or other, and you can start to form that sell in your sleep idea, amen. That's awesome. I'll never forget the first time I woke up and there was $800 in my PayPal account from the first online course I ever sold. And I had never talked to the person. I didn't have to give any kind of service to them. They just got the course and they were on their way. It was a really freeing kind of feeling. But what do you need to get there? What do you need to support it? And perhaps, thinking about what that product or physical digital item might entail. So we have time for some questions. Matt, what do you think?
We definitely have some time for some questions. Thank you so much for everything you've shared so far. There's lots of gems that people I'm sure can act on. I love the fact, because I bang this drum all the time, that we ended on Google My Business. I'm like, if you have no marketing dollars to spend, if you are only going to do one thing and you never want to touch your computer again, just do that. I try and get, all the time. We got a couple of questions. One, I'll kind of weigh in on here, of people wanting to have a Google My Business listing, but they work from home. And can we do that without showing our address? You can do that, can't you? You can show a service area if you work from home. In this session, we won't go through exactly how you do that, but if you Google that, you can definitely display a service area and not your actual address. However, this is kind of where an opinion I have is really ask yourself the question, why don't you want to have that on there? Even if you are a plumber who maybe serves the whole of South Calgary and you live there, people like that credibility thing of having an address. And I don't know, if you're a credible, real business who provides great customer service to people, what is your fear of having your address on there? That, I would just kind of put that out there. Yet some people are like, no, I do not want it. I understand that. But, ask yourself the question at least.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. And I like your idea of the region. I mean, it's interesting, right? Whenever I'm searching, I was lost in a neighborhood the other day and I was trying to find my way out and all these home businesses popped up. And so, yeah, I'm with you, Matt. For sure, we would all have our privacy security concerns and everyone's going to have a different filter there or comfort level. But it sure does go a long way when there is a physical location, and I mean from an SEO standpoint too. So the other option is to register your address to an office or a co-work space or something nearby, but having an actual physical address online is really important. And I've said this to businesses and friends who are in the digital coaching space that don't want to put a single city or geographical marker on their website because they want to be global. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine, but you're going to be left out of every single local search result going. And that could do a lot more harm than you thinking you're going to possibly show up on a search result in Italy. Because I'm telling you right now, you won't. The people nearby will.
That's so true. And yeah, from you, that means a lot, because your service, your product, if I'm in Scotland, I could be a client of yours, hey? But right. You got to focus here. Just one question about Google My Business. Is it going to no longer exist?
Yes. No, that is the app. So Google My Business will certainly continue to exist, as will the desktop dashboard. What's happened is that the Google My Business app, which personally I loved it, it was really easy to go into the app and make a quick update to your hours or answer a review. But for whatever reason, Google is phasing out that app. I have a feeling they'll either improve it or replace it with something else, but Google My Business is not going away, just that app, to my knowledge. I'm pretty sure that's the case.
And just on Google My Business still, if there is the option, isn't there, to put little updates on there of I see this when I go on somewhere, 15% off takeout this weekend and things like that, or people who put on videos and photographs and things like that. Google, I'm assuming, likes that and will.
Totally. Yep. That's another awesome kind of content placement. And if you're posting updates on Facebook or Instagram, I absolutely encourage you to go post those updates. Pick one a week, pick two a week, and put them into Google My Business. As you can see here, it's right below home. It says posts. And I'm crazy not to utilize those posts because they're going to show up in my profile. and both in my listing, but also in search. So yes, absolutely. I'm glad you said that, Matt, because it's not hard to create those posts. And they say, what type of post would you like? Is it an offer? Is it a COVID update, or is it an event? Like it's just like Facebook, really. And it's so easy to cross post to GMB and have, again, a really positive results from it. And this is what I meant when I said that if you properly flesh out your GMB page for just an hour or two, you will see a difference in your search ranking fast if you haven't done that before. And don't also underestimate that info area where product categories and products are so important as additional SEO tools.
Yeah, awesome, thanks. And just the number of businesses, I've said this before, not kind of asking for reviews, soliciting reviews. You know, like if you're confident that you've cleaned someone's carpet really, really well, like ask them to share the word for it. You know, what is the worst? They don't get round to it. Like, no, I've never been offended.
Me neither.
Apart from Home Depot this week. And I could do a whole hour session on customer service and online, how not to do it this week, but perhaps that's not for now.
No, you're right. 2 quick tips. No, I'm with you, Matt. I got asked for one this morning from a company I've been trying to return a singular chair to Montreal to for months now. And I was like, you finally took it, but I was only being kind to you guys. So you would finally take this chair back, but I don't want, anyways. I'll just stay silent. And I do have just a 5-star review policy. If I can't give someone a 5-star review, I don't review them, because I'm a small business owner and I know how insanely difficult it is to receive poor reviews and that it's cruel. So that's just my personal take on it all. But I also, one thing, I've mentioned this before, but one thing that's a really powerful thing to do as well is if you're going to review a business, if you were to post a photo from that business, and I don't know if you've ever been in a location and taken photos. A couple weeks ago, I was with my kids at the Calgary Climbing Center, took a bunch of photos, had Googled it on Google Maps before. So Google sends me a note an hour later. I see you were at the Calgary Climbing Center. Would you like to post a review? I'm like, oh my God. Well, you know what? I loved it. So yes, I will. And I'm going to add my third-party photos to it. And that review is going to generate enormous amounts of traffic because it has images. So what I say to my friends, and I've told you guys before, I've been called a Google local host or something because I often post photos, but they get heavily trafficked. And I've said to business owners, send your best interior and exterior shots of your business to your friends, get them to post a review with those photos. It'll go so much further.
Great bit of advice to end 12 weeks, so 12 sessions, 12 webinars on. It's something absolutely everyone can do as long as you have friends. Excellent. So yeah, for sure we made it. So it's been wonderful to have everyone here. You're going to receive in the next day or so an email with links to all 12 of the webinars that have been presented so far, connected with the resources, fillable PDFs, tips, suggestions, lots and lots of content. And so, you know, for those people who've been with us from the start, thank you so much. Kelly has been, and it's been wonderful. I really appreciate and thank her for the work she's done and the information that she's shared.
Likewise. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. So we will see those people who are eager and perhaps have joined us partway through for the next webinar in 2 weeks' time. So we will look forward to having everyone join then. Thanks again. See you now, Kelly.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.